As a restaurant, if you have employees and are not self-insured, you will likely be required to purchase workers' compensation insurance. Although workers' comp is a meaningful expense, there are ways to reduce your premium. We'll get into specific strategies, but to start things off, let's talk about the background of workers' comp pricing and exposure classification. Let's go ahead and talk about NCCI and the class code system. NCCI is the most prominent classification system used to rate workers' compensation insurance. They are the rating bureau that assigns classifications so that a single classification is given to employers in the same industry who perform similar functions. Each classification has a rate. Workers' compensation rates represent an occupational risk, which is the chance that workers will be hurt on the job. Certain occupations are riskier than others. Roofer work is riskier than office work. The rate of roofing work is much higher than that for clerical work. For restaurant operations, the most common codes are 9079 and 9082, with 9079 being the more frequent among the two. This is a catch-all type of code applying to most restaurant operations: servers, cooks, hosts, busboys, etc. Now I'm going to do a brief example of workers' comp premium calculation. The following formula is used to calculate workers' compensation premiums. Rate times payroll over 100 times experience modifier equals the premium. First, you need to determine your payroll, which is a key component of the workers' compensation rating. Take that payroll, divide it by 100, and multiply it by the rate. The rate is multiplied by your payroll by 100. Let's say your payroll is $3 million and your rate is 0.1. Your payroll, 3 million, divided with 100 equals 30,000. The rate, 0.1, is multiplied by 30,000 to get 3,000. But what about the experience modifier? It is also critical to include the experience modifier in the calculation. This is a numerical representation of your company's loss history compared to industry averages. Your modifier should be around 1.0 if your loss history is close to the average range. A modifier less than 1.0 will be given to a company with a loss history that is better than average. In the same way, your modifier will be greater than 1.0 if you have a loss history that is more severe than the average. Your state and NCCI typically determine your modifier figure. As you can see, your modifier is a multiplier for the premium in the rating formula. Your premium will be reduced if your modifier is lower than 1.0 and increased if it is greater than 1.0. Let's say your modifier is 0.9 and your payroll is 3 million. Your rate is 0.1. Your final premium is 2,700. 0.1 times 3 million divided by 100 times 0.9 equals 2,700. Let's say your modifier is 1.1. Your payroll is 3 million and your rate is 0.1. Your final premium will be 3,300. 0.1 times 3 million divided by 100 times 1.1 equals 3,300. So if you reduce your modifier, you reduce your premium. Your business cannot control the industry's loss experience or the rates that are assigned to your classes by NCCI. In this way, you should hone in on your experience modifier and reduce your premiums by lowering that figure. If your goal is to reduce your experience modifier, safety should be your first priority. You can reduce the risk of worker injuries by creating a safe work environment. Be willing to spend money on an outside safety assessment and make the necessary changes. Mandate employee safety training. A small decrease in your premium calculation equation may result in substantial savings, as your modifier is multifaceted. Practical tip number 1, initiate a return to work program. Return to work programs can be a great way to retain workers and reduce the cost of workers' comp claims. This program helps injured workers return to work as soon as possible after they have recovered from their injuries. Practical tip number 2, register for state-sponsored programs. In return for a lower workers' compensation premium, some states offer programs that improve safety. Employers who participate in a drug-free workplace program may be eligible for a reduction in their premiums. Ask your workers' comp insurer about the programs available in your state. Practical tip number 3, join a safety group to receive group rating. Certain states offer substantial discounts for safety groups that are recognized within certain industries. This is known as group rating. Your business must have a better than average safety record to be eligible for a safety group and group rating. Practical tip number 4, double check classifications on your policy. Many businesses are incorrectly classified in their workers' compensation policies. It can lead to costly errors when determining final premiums. Specific to restaurants and bars, workers' compensation rates for servers and chefs will be higher than those for clerical workers. Ask your broker or insurance agent to look at your company's classifications if you feel it has been assigned incorrectly. A classification inspection can be requested from NCCI and your state rating bureau. Practical tip number 5, examine payroll numbers. Your payroll projections for the current policy period are used to calculate workers' compensation premiums. Your premium will rise if the projections are too high. The audit will adjust your premium, but it may take several months to complete. There's no need to wait. Ask your insurance agent to review and adjust your payrolls accordingly. In this video, we talked about the workers' comp classification system, how premiums are calculated, and 5 practical tips for achieving lower rates. Hope you found this information helpful. When it comes to restaurants and bars, our agency has expert knowledge, specialized coverages, and competitive premiums for food and beverage establishments. Feel free to reach out with any questions, thoughts, or information to get a free quote.